Okay, let's get this show on the road. Hello, everyone. Hope you're well. Welcome to another edition of Math 1108. Hopefully, you guys are doing well this morning. Decided to change up the plan a little bit, just so you know. So I'm not going to start a new topic today. Probably wouldn't get very far anyway. So I figured I would just talk a little bit about a question I was asked in office hours, as well as just maybe a little bit more generally about the test. So I wrote up a bunch of questions in a test bank that I knew I wanted to ask her on the first test, but I haven't actually stitched them together in a structure yet. So I can't be super specific, but I can be fairly specific about what to expect on test day. And so I'll talk a little bit about that. But also met with someone in office hours, and they asked me to go over an extra example of doing things with Excel and Python. And so I thought I would just do one more example of that. And so that's what we're going to do. So we'll start there. We'll get through that, and we will then talk a little bit about the test. And that's going to be our day today, as well as, you know, stuff that might be relevant. Okay, so let's start there. So here we go. Let's see. Okay, so here's an example of a problem. So this would be, you can consider this maybe like one of the test type problems. So in one of the problems, I'm going to give you some linear programming problem. It's not going to be a word problem. I'm going to just directly give you the linear program like you see here. Maximize this subject to these constraints. Probably won't ask you these many constraints because, you know, I'm not testing how much you can type, how quickly. I'm testing, do you know how to do this? So, well, this is just an example. Since I'm doing it, I can throw in a few more things, give it a little bit more of a robust example. So you can take can I do something? I think my iPad got disconnected from Zoom. Not sure what's going on there, but I guess I can restart. And misbehaving, I'm not sure why. I was going to share the other screen anyway, so might as well just jump to it. Because, as you guys know, I am not about doing Excel on the iPad. So let's actually just go in here. So hopefully you can see that. So this is in Excel. By the way, oh, now you're restarting. Okay, so let's actually look at this in Excel. As you can see this is the Excel. There are no codes filled in here yet. But we'll get to actually doing that. And we're going to do that problem. So I'm kind of distracted by this iPad thing loading now. Technology.
Recording in progress.
Okay, I think I'm back in. Okay, so, all right, let's get a move on. So here, you'll notice, this is like an Excel, and you can have this like pre-typed if you want. So remember, we have like 3 main sections. There's our variable, there's our objective, and there's like our constraints. This problem that I had 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's a constraint section and all that. What is important is to know what you should be filling in from what you shouldn't be filling in. So remember, in these cells right here, you don't have to fill in anything. That's where the answers are going to be. Optimal answers will show up here. Right, so you are going to have to enter code here though. And so let's talk about that. Where do we enter the code? So code needs to be filled in boxes of this color above. Okay, so where are you going to be filling in codes? Like here, right? So you're going to actually fill in a code for your objective. For each of your constraints, the left and the right-hand side, you're going to have to be filling those in order for you to solve them. So let's actually do that here. So in this problem, we were asked to maximize 20x1 plus 10x2 plus 15x3. So let's just call these guys x1, x2, x3 instead of x, y, z. And I want to maximize equals. Now I type in the formula, right? 20 times x1, I click on that cell, plus 10 times x2, plus 15 times x3. No, not x times x3, times, click on that. Okay. And so there you have the formula there, right? And then I was given several constraints. The first constraint is 3x1 plus 2x2 plus 5x3 is less than or equal to 55. So I want this to be less than or equal to 55. But what do I want to be less than or equal to? So we're going to do the same thing, 3 times, and then I click on this. And obviously something is wrong here. What's wrong? Like, why won't it select what I'm clicking?
You have to hit equals first.
Okay, good. So you go in the test and you're like, you forget that because, you know, you're rushing and you're all anxious. You're like, oh my God, it's not working. My Excel isn't working. Oh, it's working. No, calm down. And what happened? Like, you need the equals there. You need to tell Excel, I'm entering a command. I might be clicking on some cells. So you can't just go straight into typing the formula. You enter equals, and then you start typing the formula. So it's 3 times, then you click on that. Now it's going to work. Plus 2 times x2 plus 5 times x3, and I want that to be less than or equal to 55. Right? So now I enter the next one. The next one is 2x1 plus x2 plus x3 less than or equal to 26 equals 2 times x1. And if you remember what the cells are, B2, B3, B4, you can also do that. Plus, and I can show you typing that here, B3 plus B4 less than or equal to 26. Right, so you can do it that way as well, but you can click on the cells also. Equals x1 plus x2 plus 3 times x3. That's my next constraint. I want that less than or equal to 30. Equals 5 times x1 plus 2 times x2 plus 4 times x3. Enter. I want that less than or equal to 57. So now I've entered all of that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to find the solver. It's under data, all the way to the right. And again, for those of you using Macs, this is something that we figured out yesterday. There's not going to be a file button, I don't think. There should be a button that says tools or something like that. And you can go through tools and then options and then all that stuff. Yeah, but ultimately after you install the solver, you go to data, you go to solver. And I like to reset all just to make sure that nothing's filled in that I don't want. I know I want to maximize. What do I want to maximize? Set the objective. Couple things you can do here. You can literally click on that and it will pop up. Another option you can do is you can click on this where it has you highlight what cells you need. So now we put in the variables. Then you can press type enter and it will also fill them in. So that's my objective. These are the variables I'm changing. Now I'm going to want to set up my constraints. So I'm going to add a bunch. What do I want? I want this guy to be less than or equal to that guy. Add. I want this guy to be less than or equal to that guy. Add. I want this guy to be less than or equal to that guy. Add. I want this guy to be less than or equal to that guy. Add. When you add all of them, you can cancel. Now you see that there are 4 constraints in here. You'll notice that they are B14, D14, B15, D15. 15 is the row, B is the column where this guy shows up, and that's B14, B15, B16, B17. This is column D, 14, 15, 16, 17. So you can just kind of like eyeball this to make sure you're entering the right thing. You can select this. In our problem, we were told that x1, x2, and x3 were greater than or equal to 0. You could add these as extra constraints, but you can also just as well just check this, and it will automatically think of all variables as being non-negative. Then you're going to go into simplex, and you're going to click solve. And there it is solved. And that looks like the right answer to me. So turns out the optimal solution is going to be x1 needs to be 1.8. x2, let me actually write this into the OneNote. Solution. And we're back. So let me just write this down. Our solution here is x1 equals 1.8, x2 equals 20.8, x3 equals 1.6, and our max p is equal to 268. That is the answer. And Excel gave us that. And if we know how to enter it, that's good. Okay, so yeah, that's it. That would be Excel. Any questions on that? What I did here? But knowing how to do that, saving the file, and then uploading it would be something that you would need to do. Also, another thing I would do is, okay, so here's the file I typed in the answers. So for the same problem, right? Assuming you have Python and Gurobi installed, modify the Python script below to solve the above LP. So I will give you the commands. I'll give you the entire script to solve the linear programming problem. However, the script isn't exactly what it needs to be in order to be able to solve this problem. So what I would want you to be able to do is to be able to modify the script to be able to solve the problem. So it's like, you know, you want to get something done in Python, you Google it, see someone do something similar. How do you change the code to get what you want done? Right? That's the idea. That's essentially what I'm showing you how to do, which is like 80% of programming. So now, here's the script. So you're going to go through and you're going to be like, okay, what do I need to change in order to solve this problem? All right, let's see. Gurobi Py import. No idea what that is. No idea what this model is called. Never mind. But oh, creating variables. That's something I would want to do. I definitely want to know what variables I have. Here, this guy has 2 variables. Oh, that's not good enough. In my problem, I need 3 variables. So you should know that, oh, I would need to add another line here, right? Call this guy x3. This is going to be my 3rd variable. So I can add a 3rd variable. All right, what else do I need? No idea what that's doing, but set objective, that's definitely something I want to do. I want that to be my objective. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to replace that with the objective that I want, which is 20x1 plus 10x2 plus 5x3. Do I want to minimize it? No. I want to maximize it more. Okay. Then what else would I want? Add constraints. Oh, I need constraints. There's literally only 1 constraint here. I want 4. So yeah, that's not going to work. So I want constraint 2, constraint 3, constraint 4. And what are all these constraints? Well, you literally type them in here. So the first constraint is going to be 3 times x1 plus 2 times x2 plus 5 times x3 less than or equal to 55. It's my first constraint. Second constraint, 2 times x1 plus x2 plus x3 less than or equal to 26. It's my second constraint. Third constraint, x1 plus x2 plus 3 times x3 less than or equal to 30. And the fourth constraint, 5 times x1 plus 2 times x2 plus 4 times x3 less than or equal to 57. Now what else? Optimize. Okay, well, I'm not going to do that. You're going to do that. Here's a website stuff, website linking to something about Gurobi, something about printing. I assume that's going to print the screen. Yeah, nothing else. Now we're done. That's it. That's all I had to change. I had to go in. I had to add a variable. I had to make sure I had the right objective and I wanted to maximize. Then I had to modify my constraints. Everything else in the code is going to stay the same, and I would need to know to change the stuff that I just changed. And that would be like one problem. So this will be like a problem. It's not going to be this hefty, right? Because I assume if you could type out 2 lines like this, I know you could type out 4. I'm not going to like hound you on that. So it will be shorter, but this is essentially like a problem type that I would have on the test, where it's like I just give you a problem. It's going to be too big to solve by hand because, you know, sketching all these things in 3 dimensions, that'll take even me forever. So that's not something that you guys are going to want to do. And yeah, you can't really do this with a graphical method, not practical at all. So Excel is going to be pretty much the only game in town. Not Excel. Like using a computer of some sort is going to be pretty much the only thing you're going to want to do here. So I'm specifically going to check that you can do it in Excel, have you actually type up your own Excel file and upload it. I'm also going to give you a code where you just copy it into a text box, you modify parts of it, and yeah. So I don't know, any questions on that? Okay. Sure. So I guess, I don't know, if I write over here, we'll go over there right away. So some test 1 info. No, not right away, for whatever reason. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about some test 1 info. Like I said, not completely put in place yet, but it's on March. Is it the 14th? Is that the right date? I don't know. At 9 a.m. It'll be roughly 1 hour, 15 minutes long, plus 15 minutes for upload. Okay. So technically the timer is going to be set for 1.5 hours. I do not recommend that you keep working for 1.5 hours though, because if you don't upload your work, then you get 0 credit. So make sure that you can finish it. It's enough. You will have enough time to finish the problems. It's going to be 6 to 7 problems, I think. Which seems fair. You are going to have problems on financial math. Right, so that's like me asking about interest, me asking about amortization, sinking fund, making payments to pay off a debt or to save up to some goal. So here you're going to have like, 4 to 5 problems here. Then we are going to have linear programming. Solved by hand. Right, so that's That's going to be one problem. And then we're going to have linear programming. A, solve with Excel. B, modify Python script. To solve. You do not need to actually do anything in Python. Right? You're literally going to modify a text to actually solve it. So that is going to be one problem. Right? Much like what we have up here. Right? So I can say, here's a problem, solve in Excel. And then you would do exactly what I showed you a few minutes ago. And then here's a script, modify it to solve that same problem. And then you would do exactly what I did a few minutes ago. And that's one problem, right? And you're going to upload your Excel file. And I think your text file, you should be able to type directly into Gradescope, right? Let's see. Yeah, so that's overall the gist of it, I think. Now, a question that I got from the other class a lot, which I guess is relevant, even though no one's asking questions here, is, well, how much do I expect you to write out? How much do, how should we set things up for us to know that we're doing enough? So to that regard, and to give you a source of extra practice, I suppose I can share this with you. So you should be seeing my browser now. Yeah, class website, lots of important information. I get a lot of emails about students asking me questions when all the answers are on the class website. This is a website that, as I told you guys, you should be using frequently. It should be your hub, your central hub, right? Lecture videos, lecture notes, everything, it's there. Okay, syllabus is there, so you can know exactly when the test is. How to set up your homework is there. Where to find your grades is there. Forum is there. Where you would go to actually take the test is there. Okay, so now we have test reviews. And as I mentioned here, this is from a previous class, so there are some differences, but there are also a lot of overlap. So one, you can have practice problems here. So for example, here's a practice problem, set of practice problems not including matrices or linear algebra. Right, so just word problems. So here's like some financial math problems that you're going to want to make sure you know how to do, right? Off a similar level of difficulty as I would ask. So you can actually go through these problems. Determine the simple interest accrued earned on $10,000 20 years, APR is this, or a couple deposits this in an account doing that, you know, calculate the future value of the investment, or, you know, in 18 years, it will cost this much to send someone to college for 4 years. How are you going to save for that? Things of that sort. You can ignore all of this stuff because that's about sets, which we're going to start today, but we aren't going to do it. Yeah. And then, oh, by the way, I think if you keep scrolling, the answers are down there. So all the financial math answers, like the first 6 or 7 problems here, you'll know the answers when you actually do it, so you can check yourself. There are some problems here also that would involve, obviously not matrices. You see them like this, you just ignore it because you've never seen me write anything like that in class. If you go down, you'll see problems like 13 and 14 here, which are linear programming problems. And again, you will have the answers down here so you can check. Now, there's also a practice test. And again, not completely relevant for you because the matrices here, so problems 6, 7, and 8, you would ignore. But problems 1 through 5 are very relevant. It might look like the first 5 problems of your test. So your test is pretty much going to look like something like page 1 with the addition of me asking you about Excel and Python. So that would be your problem 6 or 7. So I'll ask a bunch of problems like this. I might ask one more word problem of this type. I'll ask you a linear programming problem like this one is, and then I'll ask you another linear programming problem where you do it with Excel. Yeah. Now, for even more practice, you can go down to the old test and solutions. So you can go here into test 1, test bank. Again, not everything is relevant. If you're paying attention, I think it will be obvious when we didn't cover something. But yeah, here's some word problems, right? You want to borrow this, blah, blah, blah. You're going to solve it. You know, a new school building, you know, it was a built $22 million project. They got it on a 30-year loan. You need to figure out what the loan payments need to be for this problem, things of that sort, and blah, blah, blah. This one is about Venn diagrams. It's about sets. You'd obviously ignore that, right? So you read this and it talks about Venn diagram, and you're like, well, we never did that in class yet, so I would ignore that problem. Moving over, right? So here's something about compounding monthly, another financial math problem, another financial math problem. Here is a linear programming problem, right? You want to maximize revenue and blah, 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 right? So you'd ignore this because that has to do with system matrices. So yeah, you would do that. And then after doing that, you would check, because I also posted the solutions. So this is going to sort of answer the question of, well, how much do you expect us to kind of write out? Well, for the most part, I lead by example when it comes to this thing. So how much I write out in class is how much I expected to write out. And the point is, I do want to be able to follow your steps logically, right? So here was one of the amortization problems where you can see what I'm thinking and where my numbers are coming from. Using this formula, these are the relevant numbers plugged in. This is the answer, right? And then if I split that among 23,000 families, that would be what each family pays, right? So you can see that I'm going through, you can see what the steps are. Yeah. Using this formula, plug in the relevant numbers, that's the answer. Using this formula, plug in the relevant numbers, that's the answer. You can kind of see, like, I didn't just write, oh, the answer is 867. Where did that come from? What formula did you use? Where did you plug in the numbers? Right? Like, I need to be able to see that, right? So here's an example of me doing that linear programming problem. Clearly you can see I have my objectives, so I know what I'm solving. I did the diagram. I found the intersections. I tested in a table, and then I came up with the answer. You can see what I'm doing when I'm doing it. This is the first thing I did. This is the second thing I did. This is the third thing I did. This is the fourth thing I did. Like, you can see what I'm doing. You can see where all the numbers are coming from. Nothing is a surprise. It's not like I just went from the picture to this, and you're like, well, where did 116 come from? Well, I showed you where the 116 comes from, is over here. Well, how do you know that this was the best? What were the other options? Well, that's what my table is telling you right here, right? You can see where all my numbers is coming from. I tested these guys. This was the best one, right? So, yeah, that's like how much you would show. Of course, you ignore that. These are all matrices. But that's just to give you an idea of what you would see. But in general, I mean, in general, that's kind of how it is. If you go back, just look at anything that we've been doing in class, you know, maybe not there, maybe like that was me explaining theory. Right? It's like all this stuff, like how I write it out, right? Sort of clear. Now, of course, this part here is somewhat optional to show. However, for partial credit, it might be worth you showing that. But this is just you sort of kind of wrapping your mind around the problem, setting up your variables, just having everything just put into place for you. But obviously here, you have to write out the LP. You see me do it in class. You have to draw the picture. You see me do that in class. You have to figure out the corner points, where are all the intersections. You see me do that in class. You have to test the relevant points. You see me do that in class. Then you come up with an answer. You see me do that in class, right? So how much you're going to write out? How much did Jhevon write out? That's how you answer that question, right? I show you exactly what I want you to do. And you can use my answers kind of like as a general template of what do I do first? What do I do second? What do I use third? Right. And yeah. So that's more or less what the test is going to be about. And I did an extra example of some Excel and Python because, you know, someone asked me about it. But yeah. That's pretty much it that I want to do today. I didn't want to start anything new with you guys having a test in a couple of days. So unless there are any questions, I think we're good. Later today, after I teach my last class, which I think ends around 1-ish, I'll just type a quick thing in Gradescope, send it off to you guys. It's not going to be anything by way of practice, just getting used to going into Gradescope and logging in and doing stuff and uploading. So you're not like, you don't know what to do come test day. That being said, you can log into Gradescope from 2 sources. So you can log in on your phone so that you can take a picture and upload it directly from your phone right away, which is probably going to be more time efficient. But if you can't read on the small phone screen, you can actually also log in on a big computer and you can read the questions off that screen, do it on paper, and then take a picture with your phone and just upload it right from your phone. That's probably going to be the quickest way to do it, actually. So something like that. Is that clear? Any questions, concerns? I think I pretty much covered everything that might be relevant here. Why doesn't this thing? Oh, you don't see it on your screen, but I'm messing with Zoom here. It doesn't show that on the shared screen. But yeah, I will do that. We will stop there unless there are any other questions. Apparently they're not. So I guess we'll stop there. I'll let you guys go. Good luck on the tests this weekend, and that's it. You can look out for some sort of email from me later about logging into Gradescope. And until then, I will see you guys in the next one.